Hello. In this video, I will do an IBEW introductory test regarding factoring polynomials by factoring out GCF. So yeah, we're going to factor out polynomials, and one of the technique is factoring out a greatest common factor. Okay. So yeah, I've seen this part on the exam, so this will definitely be on the exam. So let's begin. Okay, so question one says factor the polynomial of 6x squared plus 12x plus 12x. So they specifically, this is a special type of factoring. It's called factoring out GCF. So just like there's a lot of GCF, can't spell. There are many factoring methods, but one of the method is factoring out GCF. So we have two terms. We have 6x squared and 12x. So first recognize that there's two terms. Then what you want to do is figure out if we could take out variables and then constant. So over here we probably can because in this term we have an x squared or really 2x. And then over here we have 1x. So my question to you is what is the greatest amount of x's we can take out evenly? Yeah, what is the greatest amount of x's we can take out evenly? We can take out the largest amount of x evenly would be 1x. Okay. And then the constant. So our constants is 6 and 12, right? So I always tell my students, what is the largest number that they're both divisible by? So largest number is that they're both divisible by, meaning they don't give you any decimals. So between 6 and 12, I mean, I know they're divisible by 2, but is that the largest? No. What about 3? Is I think 6 divided by 3 comes out nicely, 12 divided by 3 comes out nicely. Yes, but is it the largest? No. What about 4? 6 divided by 4 doesn't come out nicely. 5, no. What about 6? 6 divided by 6 comes out nicely. 12 divided by 6 comes out nicely. I think that's it. We can't go any further because anything higher will make the 6 a decimal, right? So we can take out a 6. And then, okay, so this is the part where it can get confusing. So we still can't change this problem. We're just factoring out a GCF. So what do I have to multiply 6x to get the first term? So you need kind of know your exponent rules. So yes, what do I have to multiply 6x in order to get 6x squared? Well, I don't need any more constant because I already have a 6. What about x's? How many x's do I need to get x squared? 1x, right? Right, because when you FOIL this out, um, 6x times x or x1 times x1, remember your exponent rules, when you multiply, you add the exponent, so it'd be 6x squared, okay? What about the second term? What do you have to multiply 6x to get 12x? Well, I don't need any more x's because I already have 1x, but I do need a positive 2, right? Because 6x times 2 is 12x. Okay, so that is factoring out GCF. That would be letter A. Okay, question two, factor out the polynomial. So we have 15y cubed minus 25y squared. So count how many terms you have. So we have a total of two terms. This 15y cubed is one term, not two, but one. This negative, or this 25y squared is one term. So let's start with our letters, y's. We have a y cube here and a y square there. What is the largest amount of y's you can take out evenly? Y squared, right? Because you can't go any higher, if you can't take out a y cubed, because this only has two y's, right? Good. Now, what about our constant? Our constants are 15 and 25. So what is the largest number that they're both divisible by? That they divide evenly. So I think 5 works. Um, what about 10? No, 15 divided by 10 doesn't work. What about 15? Does 25 go into 15 evenly? I don't think so. No, it does not. But so our largest we can take out is 5. Okay. So now we got to go back to our problem. What do we have to multiply 5y squared to get 15y cubed? Well, you're going to need a 3, and then we're going to need one more y, right? Because what is y? When you follow this out, it's like saying y2 times y1. What's 2 put? Remember when you're multiplying, you're adding, so 2 plus 1 is 3, and then 5 times 3 is 15. Okay. And then on the second one, we're going to need a minus because there's a minus right in the middle. And then what do we have to multiply 5y squared to get 25y squared? Well, you're going to need a 5, and we don't need any more y's because this does have a y square already. Okay, so it's going to be 5y squared times 3y minus 5. Okay, correct. Okay, let's move on to question 3. Yeah, question 3. Question 3, we have 6x squared plus 12x. So we have two terms, 1, 2. So yeah, two terms. We have 6x squared and 12x. So let's start with our letters. We have an x squared here and a 1x there. What is the largest amount of x's you can take out evenly? Yes, 1x. And then what about the constant? We have a 6 and a 12. What is the largest number that they're both divisible by? Yes, 6. So yeah, what do you have to multiply 6x to get the first term? Well, we don't need any more 6, but we do need one more x, right? Because x1 times x1 is x2. Good. Next term, what do you have to multiply 6x to get 12x? Well, you're going to need a 2 and no more x's. Okay, so that's your answer. Okay, question 4. We have 15y cubed minus 25y squared. So first step, count how many terms do you have. This is one term. This is one term. So we have two terms. Let's see how many y's we can take out evenly. So we have y cubed or 3y's. We have y squared or really 2y's. What is the largest amount of y's you can take out evenly from both of them? Y squared. Okay. Now what about our constant? We have a constant of 15 and 25. So what number divides evenly, and it's the largest of you could that the largest that you can think of. So I know they're both divisible by 5, but can we go any higher? No, because I you could try 15, but 25 doesn't go into 15 evenly. So you could take out a 5. Okay. Now go back. We can't change our problem. So what do you have to multiply 5y squared to get the first term? 15y cubed. You're going to need a 3, and then you're going to need a y. And then it's going to be minus. And then what do you have to multiply 5y squared to get 25y squared? Well, you're going to need another 5 and no more y's. 5y squared and 3y minus 5. This one. Okay, question 5. We have 8m4n plus 12mn cubed n squared. So first step, I'm going to count how many terms we have. Yes, we have exactly two because this whole thing is one term, believe it or not. And then this whole thing is one term. So that's a total of two terms. Now, let's start with our letters. So if we can take any, so let's start with the letter N. We have an N here and then an N square or one N and then two N's. What is the largest amount of N's you can take out evenly? So this is one N and this is two N's. So the largest amount of N's you can take out is only one N. What about our letter M? So we have M4 and M cubed. So what is the largest amount of M's you can take out evenly? So M4 really means four M's. M cube is really three M's. So what is the largest amount of M's you can take out evenly? Yes, M cubed or three M's. Okay, what about our constant? Our constant is 8 and 12. Can you come up with a number that they're both divisible by? And it has to be the largest. So I know they're divisible by 2, but can we go any higher? Yes. Let's try 4. 8 divided by 4 is nice. 12 divided by 4, yes. Can we go any higher? Let's try 8. 12 divided by 8 doesn't come out nicely. So our highest is 4. Okay. So that's our GCF. Now we can't really change our problem. So what do we have to multiply this whole thing, 4m cubed n, to get the first term, 8m fourth n. So we're going to need extra 2 because 4 times 2 is 8. And I think we're going to need some m's. How much more? Just one m because remember when you FOIL, you're multiplying. So m3 times m1 is m4. And then what about n's? Do we need any more n's? No, because we already have one n here, so we're good. Then we're going to need a plus because there's a plus. Now, what about the second term? What do you have to multiply 4n m cubed n to get the second term? 12m cubed n squared. Well, you're going to need a 3 because 4 times 3 is 12. And how many m's or do we need any more m's? Well, we already have an m cubed, so we're good. We don't need any more m's. And then what about n's? I believe we need one more n because n times n is as n squared, right? N1 times n1 is n squared. Okay, so that is our final answer. Cube 4n cubed n 2m plus 3n. Perfect. Okay, question 6. Okay, this one's a little bit different. Okay, yeah, it is definitely. Simplify and factor. So this one, you kind of have to simplify first before you factor. So let's do that. Let's simplify or collect like terms. So don't worry about the parentheses. You could just rewrite it without the parentheses. It's the minus that you really have to worry about, but because this is a plus, you don't really have to worry about it. So let's start collecting like terms. Let's start with our x's. What is 5x and 15x? 20x. And then what about our constant? What is 10 and 20? 30. Okay. Then what you're going to do is factor out a GCF. So we have two terms. Can we take out any x's, any variables? No, because this one has one x and then this has no x's, so we can't take out any x's out. What about our constant? We have a constant of 20 and 30. Can you come up with a number that they're both divisible by, or the largest number? Well, I know they're divisible by 10, but can we go any higher? What about 20? No, 30 divided by 20 is a decimal. So I think that's it. Yes, just, yeah, you could take out a 10. So that's our GCF, greatest common factor, and then we still can't change our problem. So what do you have to multiply 10 to get the first term, 20x? You're going to need a 2, and you're going to need 1x. And then what do you have to multiply 10 to get 30? You're going to need a 3. Okay, so this is your answer, which is the third one. Okay, let's move on to question 7. Simplify and factor. So like the first one, we gotta first simplify, then we may factor. So let's start with our letters. So we have a 12y and an 18y. What is that going to be? 30y. Okay. Now what about our constant? Our constants are -6 and 24. What is that going to be? 24 and -6 is 18. Okay, so that is our GCF. So, oh no, why did I put a parenthesis? So this is not my GCF. I take that back. This is the simplified. When you simplify this, now we got to figure out our GCF. So we have two terms. We have a 30y and an 18. So let's start factoring out stuff. What about y's? Can we take out some y's? We have one y here and no y's here. So we can't take out any y's. What about constant? We have a constant of 30 and 18. Um, can you come up with a number that they're both divisible by? I think they're divisible by 6. Can we go any higher? Uh, no, we can't go any higher. Can we go? What about 18? Divide is 30 divided by 18 nice? No, it's not. I mean, if you even if you were taking an exam, look at this. Look at your choices. So I know we can definitely take out a 6 or both divisible. What about 12? No, 18 divided by 12 doesn't come out nicely. What about, so 6, and then what about 18? No, we said 30 divided by 18 doesn't come out nicely. Okay, so your final answer, your GCF will be a 6, and then you're going to need a 5, 6 times 5 is 30, and then you're going to need a Y plus, and then you're going to need a 3, right? Because 6 times 5y is 30y, 6 times 3 is 18. So that is your answer. Whoops. Ah, I picked the wrong one. I got the right answer. I just picked the wrong one. Sorry. Yeah. So that is something you need to know when you take the exam. Just make sure you're bubbling in the correct answer, not like me. Okay, so yeah, it is definitely 6 times 5y plus 3. Okay. Okay. Question 8. Simplify and factor. So we have 4a times 3b plus 6 plus 8 times 3b plus 6. Look, you do not have to FOIL. I know what you want to do. You're probably thinking you have to FOIL out this 4a, collect like terms. etc. You do not have to do that. There's something, this is, looks like this is like a grouping by factoring. Notice that you see that you see a repeat of 3b plus 6, right? You see it here and here. So when you have a repeat, you just write it out once. So you just write out that 3b plus 6. And then what you're going to do is bring down your leftovers, the ones you haven't used. So we didn't use the 4a and the 8. So just bring that out, bring that down. And that's your answer. Can we go any further? Wait, look at your choices. Is there a 3b plus 6 plus 4a plus 8? That looks very tempting, but is this the most factored it can be? So look here, 3b plus 6. Can you factor out a GCF? Yes. I think they're both divisible by 3. You can't take out a b. So you could factor out a 3. So this is going to be 1b plus 2. And then over here, 4a plus 8. You can definitely factor out a 4, right? They're both divisible by 4. So this is going to be a plus 2. And then what you could do is, yeah, 4 times 3 is 12. I don't see my answer. I would get b 12 plus b. Let me double check. No, I don't see my answer, but I do see this answer, 3b plus 6 plus 4a plus 4a plus 8. Let's see if that's correct. So I got this one. Let me try that one. Why is it the third one? Let me see. So they took out a 4. You have a 3b plus 6 and a 3b plus 6. So you have a repeat. So you just bring that down. And then you bring down your leftovers 4a plus 8. Oh, I know. Wait. Yeah, so I know. Okay, so they did it the way we did it. So they did it. See how they have a repeat of 3b plus 6, 3b plus 6? So when you have a repeat, just write out that repeat once. Then bring down your leftover, which is 4a plus your leftover is we didn't use this 4a and this 8, right? Then what they did was they did one step further. Um, Over here between the 4a and the 8, it looks like you could factor out a 4. So this is going to be a plus 2 now, and then this is still going to be 3b plus 6. But they did not over here 3b plus 6, they did not factor out a 3. So that was my mistake. So yeah, this one is this. It's this one. Man, that's tricky because I mean this sounds good, but they just did one step further and they factor out this 4 here, and then that's how they got this. Okay. So yeah, so let me repeat what they did. So they you didn't have to FOIL this out and you didn't have to simplify and FOIL this out. You see that there's a repeat of 3b plus 6 here and here. So when you have a repeat, bring it down. So I wrote the 3b plus 6 only once, and then I bring down my leftovers, the one that I haven't used. So I haven't used the 4a and the 6. So that's how I got to this. Then what you want to do is factor it a little bit more. So between the 4a and the 8, it looks like you could take out a 4. So that's going to be 4 parentheses a plus 2. And then you're still left with this 3b plus 6. I guess they didn't factor out a 3 here because if they did, you would have some kind of 12, and I don't see a 12. So that is why it's this one. Tricky. Okay, this one, simplify and factor. So we have a 9x squared plus 12x minus 3x squared minus 6x. So this one you do have to simplify a little bit by collecting like terms. So let's start with the highest power. Our highest power is x squared. So you have a 9x squared here and a negative 3x squared there. So what is that going to be? 6x squared. And then what is the next one? X's. So we have a 12x here and a negative 6x. What is that going to be? 12x minus 6x is positive 6x, right? Good. Then what you're going to do is factor out a GCF. So we have only two terms. This is one term and this is the other, right? Um, yes. So between 6x squared and 6x, what can we take out? So let's start with our x's. We have an x squared here and then 1x there. So what is the largest amount of x's you can take out evenly? 1x. Now, what about the constant? We have a 6 here and a 6 there. So what is the largest number that they're both divisible by? So 6 and 6. The largest number that they're both divisible by is 6. Okay, so that is my GCF. So then we got to figure out, we can't change this problem. So what do you have to multiply 6x to get the first term? 6x squared, you're going to need just one more x, right? And then what do you have to multiply 6x to get 6x? So this one's tricky. What do you have to multiply 6x to get 6x? Nothing. Do not put 0. Instead, just put 1. Because what's 1 times 6x? 6x. So that's my answer. And do I see my answer? Why don't I see my answer? I mean, did I do something wrong? I got x squared. It's 9x squared and a negative 3x squared is 1, 2, 3, 6x squared. And then a 12x minus 6x is x. 6x, right? 12x minus 6x is 6x. And then I factor out 1x, and then I can also take out one's a 6. Okay, hold on. Yeah, I did this right. 9x squared and a negative 3x squared is a 6x squared, and a 12x and a negative 6x is 6x. And then I took out a 6x. Okay, so this one, I can't believe they picked this one. I don't see my answer. So what they did was it's not this one because if they did take out a 6x, this should not be a 2, it should just be 1x, right? So and I think what they did was they factor out if I look at our choices, let's try factoring in a 3. So go from this step and I think they factor out a 3. They could have gone higher. They could have done 6, but this would be wrong because this can't be a 2. So let's see if we could take out a 3 and an x. Well, we definitely can take out one x, and we could take out a 3, but it's not the largest you could take out. But because our choices are either 3x or 6x, and we know 6x doesn't work. So if we took out a 3x, what do you have to multiply 3x to get 6x squared? You're going to need a 2, and then you're going to need one more x. And then what do you have to multiply 3x to get the second term, 6x? You're going to need a 2 and one more x. Wait, I just wanted to double check. Yeah, it's not this one. I just double typed. So it's 3x and then a 2x plus 2. Let's see if it's this one. Correct. Oh my God. That is a tricky one because you literally could take out a 6x, right? So you have to be careful. You could have factored out a 6x, but if you did, it would be 6x times x plus 1. And you don't see an x plus 1, so don't be fooled, right? So yeah, we could take out a 3x, and then if you do that, this would be 2x plus 2. So it's the first one. Okay, let's move on. Factor out greatest common factor. Okay, now we're dealing with fractions. Okay, so how would we do this? Should we just add the fraction first? And no, I think what we're going to do is, so this is the first term, this is the second. So let's do the numerator. You have an 8x cubed and a 4x square. How many x's can you take out evenly? X2, right? Because this has 2 and this has 3, so the largest amount of x's you can take out evenly. And then the constant 8 and 4, 8 and 4. What is the largest number that they're both divisible by? 4. Okay. Now do the bottom. What do you have to we have a y here and a y there. So it looks like you could take out one y and then the 15 and the 5. It looks like you could factor out between the 15 and the 5. It looks like you could factor out a 5 because that's you can't go any higher, right? So yeah, so I think that's my GCF. And then now remember we have to two terms. So what do you have to multiply this 4x squared over 5y to get the first term? So you're going to need a 2 on the top and one more x because x2 times x1 is x cubed, right? And then on the bottom, what do you have to multiply 5y to get this 15y? You're going to need a 3 and no more y's. And then it's going to be a plus. And then what do you have to multiply 4x squared over 5y to get this entire thing? So on the top, you don't need any more, right? You already have a 4x squared, and then on the bottom, um, it's just 1. I don't see my choice. But look at our choices. We could take out a 4x squared and a 5y. Hmm. Okay, so what you could do is check. Wait, so let's just test each one. So let's look at the first term. So when you FOIL this out, what's 4x squared over 15y times by 2? Well, 4 times 2 is 8. And then you're going to have an x cubed. And then you still have this 15y. So far that comes out true. And then what's 4x squared over 15y times 3? So you need a 4 times 3 is 12, x squared, and a 15y. And is this our answer? Um, let's think about it. Over here, this is fine. Exactly. But what about here? 12x squared over 15y. Can you reduce this? The 12 and the 15. I think it could be reduced by 3. So 12 divided by 3 is 4. 15 divided by 3 is 5. Like, hey, that looks good, right? Even though doesn't look like it, but when reduced 12 and 15, you get 4x squared 5y. And then over here, 8x cubed 15y. That's you can't do much. So I think that'll be my answer. Let's see. Correct. Awesome. So this one, I was a bit confused, but what I did was I just test each one. So I foiled out this to the first term, and you get 8x cubed over 15y, right? Because when you're multiplying fractions, so when if this confuses you, what I'm doing is doing 4x squared over 15y times it by 2x over 1. And what you're doing is you're multiplying fractions and you multiply the top and bottom. So what's 4x squared times 2x? You're multiplying two things, a constant and a letter. It would be 8 because 4 times 2 is 8. And then it's going to be x2 times x1 is x cubed. And then you do the same thing on the bottom. 15y times 1 is 15y. So that's how I got the first term. Now, what about the second term? 4x squared over 15y times it by 3 over 1. So what's 4x squared times 3? 12x squared, right? 4 times 3 is 12. And then you have that x squared. And then on the bottom, what's 15y times 1? 15y. But shouldn't we get this answer? Is this wrong? No, because 12 and 15 can be reduced by at least 3, right? So 12 divided by 3 is 4. 15 divided by 3 is 5. And then the x squared and the y stay the same, and you get this. So that's why I chose that one. Good. Let's do number 11. So over here, factor out the greatest common factor. We have a cubed u square b square c4 plus a squared u b squared 4. Hold on. I don't know if you can see that. Let me try to, hold on. Let me try to zoom in. Okay, is that better? Okay, so factor out the greatest common factor. We have a cubed u squared over b squared 4 plus a squared u b squared over c4. Okay, so I looked at the bottom. Look, so there's two terms. This is one term, this is two term. If you look at the denominator, we have a b squared c4, b squared c4. That's good. That means they're both the same, so you could take out a b squared c4, right? What about the numerator? We have an a cubed and then we have an a squared. So how much a's can we take out? Largest amount of a's we can take out evenly? Just a squared. And then what about our u's? We have a u squared here and a u1 there. What's the largest amount of u's you can take out? Just one u, right? Because this is two u's and this is one u. Okay, and then that's our GCF. So now what do we have? We still have to multiply it by the first term. So what do we have to multiply this to get the first term? So we're going to need on the top one more a because a squared times a1 is a cubed. And then we're going to need an extra u because u times u is u squared. You want that. I'll do the bottom. It's just nothing or just an invisible one. Plus, now what do you have to multiply this to get this whole thing? So do the top. Uh, we don't need anything on the top because we have an a squared and a u, so we're good. So you don't just put a one, and then on the bottom, b squared plus c4, nothing, right? Just one. So my final answer is a squared u, b squared c4, au plus one. This one. Correct. Okay, perfect. Let's do Next one. So it's always the last ones are always the more difficult ones. Okay, so let's look at question 12. We have 5r4s squared over 12t cubed minus 10r cubed s over 12t cubed. So there's two terms. This is the first, this is the second. Look at the bottom. Notice how they're both the same, 12t cubed, 12t cubed. So that means we could take out a 12t cubed. What about the top? We have a 5r4s squared and a 10r cubed s. So let's start with the s's. We have an s2 and an s1. So largest amount of s's. You can take only one s. What about r's? We have an r4 and r cubed. What is the largest amount of r's you can take out evenly? Yes, r cubed, or three r's. And then the constant, we have a 5 and a 10. So what's the largest number that they're both divisible by? 5. That's it. Okay, so what do you have to multiply 5r cubed s to get 5r4s squared? Well, you don't need a 5. You need one more r, and you're going to need one more s because this is only one s, so you need one more extra s. And then on the bottom, we're good. We don't need to put anything on the bottom because we have a 12t cubed already. Then we're going to need a minus because it's a minus. And then what do you have to multiply 5r cubed s to get the 10r cubed s? Well, you're going to need a 2, and you're going to need no more r's and no more s. That's it. So it's 5r cubed s over 12t cubed times rs minus. It looks like the first one, the first choice. Let's see. Correct. Okay. Yeah, let's go. I think there's one more test. Let me see. Yeah, let's see if okay, yeah, we missed one. So let's continue. I think there is another one. Let's see about these ones. 10 questions. Okay. Turn the following expression into a simple polynomial. Okay, so this one is kind of like going backwards. They got it in factor form, now they want it in standard form, right? So you got to just FOIL it out and collect like terms. That's it. So yeah, we're going backwards. So let's see here. We have 1 minus x time parentheses 1 minus x parentheses 1 minus x and then x. So what would I do here? What parentheses would I do first? I would do this parentheses first. So FOIL out this negative x. So that's going to be negative x. Negative x times 1 is negative x. And then negative x times negative x is positive x squared, right? And then you have this extra 1. And then you're going to FOIL, then you have this extra x. So FOIL out this x. So it's x times 1 is x. X times negative x is negative x squared. X times x squared is x cubed. Then you have this 1, which is not nowhere near the parentheses, so you have to bring that down. So now you got to simplify, meaning put it in highest power to lowest. So we have an x cubed, so I don't see any other x cubed. I see negative x squared, and then 1x. So I'm going descending order. And then the constant is positive 1. Cubed minus. So it's not the first one. It's not the second. Is it the third? X cubed. Why don't I see my answer? Let me see. X cubed minus x squared. Hold on. Let's do this one again. So let's FOIL this negative x. That would be negative x. Negative times a negative is a positive x squared. And then you have this extra 1. Oh, I see. Then you FOIL out this x. That's tricky. So then go ahead and FOIL this x to everything. So x times 1 is x. X times negative x is negative x squared. X times x squared is x cubed. Then you have this extra 1. Put it all together, you have x cubed minus x squared plus x, and then this plus 1. See my answer now? X cubed. I don't see my answer. X cubed. Hmm. So look at where the parentheses are. So yeah, so I FOIL this out, so that's negative x. Negative times a negative is positive x squared. Negative x times a negative x is a positive x squared. And then you have this extra 1. Oh, did I multiply? I see. I didn't this is a negative x, that's why. So negative x times 1 is negative x. Negative x times negative x is positive x squared. Negative x times x squared is negative x cubed. And then you have a 1. Now collect like terms. Okay, so now we have a negative x cubed plus an x squared minus x plus 1. There we go. Third one. Negative x cubed plus x squared, negative x plus 1. Okay, next one. Okay, turn the following into a simple expression. Okay, I think what we're gonna have to do is no, let's see. Should we FOIL this out? I think no. What I would do is see how this is one term. This whole thing is one term, because this and then this whole thing is one term, and then this whole thing is one term, right? This is one term. This is the second term. This is the third term. What we want to do is maybe factor out a GCF. So what do they all have in common? Um, what do they all have in common? do, let me think. Yeah, I don't think we could factor out a GCF because they don't have anything in common, right? Um, so what I'm gonna just have to do is FOIL it out, collect like terms, cancel, etc., right? Yeah, that's a pain. Okay, so let's just do this very carefully. So what's a times x? Ax. What's a times y? Ay. What's b times x? Bx. What's b times y? By. And then over here, what's a times x? Ax. What's a times negative y? Negative ay. What's negative b times x? Negative bx, right? Negative b times x is negative bx. What's negative b times negative y? Positive by. And then over here, you have this little minus one. So what that would be negative ax, and then this would be negative by. Okay, now it's all about canceling as much as you can. So I see an ax and a negative ax cancels, and then I see a positive by and a negative by. And what else? I see a positive ay and a negative ay. And then I see a bx and a negative bx. And that's it. So I'm left with by plus ax. So I'm left with by plus ax. Or you could say a, if you put it alphabetical order, it would be ax plus by. Okay, so it looks like the first one. So unfortunately, I thought we could factor the GCF, but no, we had to FOIL it out, collect like terms, cancel, and you're left with the first answer. Okay, okay, correct. Okay, next one. This one, let's see. We have parentheses, 3x square, 3x plus 2 times plus 3x plus 2 times 2x minus 1. Unfortunately, we can't factor GCF because this is the first term and this whole thing is one whole term. There's nothing we can take out common, right? So what you're going to have to do is FOIL it out. So be careful here. 3 minus x squared is the same thing as 3 minus x times 3 minus x. Um, you could do the long way. You could FOIL it out, collect like terms. So if you do it the long way, 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times negative x is negative 3x. Negative x times 3 is negative 3x. And then negative x times negative x is positive x squared. So that's going to be, when you clean that up, that'd be x squared. Negative 3x and negative 3x is negative 6x plus 9. Okay, so that was all that for that work. Now let's do this part. So be careful, FOIL it out one at a time. What's 3x times 2x? 6x squared, right? You multiply the exponent, the constant, and the power, the exponent. What's 3x times negative 2? Negative 6x. What's 2 times 2x? 4x. And then what's 2 times negative 2? Negative 4. So it's going to be plus 6x squared minus 6x plus 4x minus 4. Then it's all about collecting like terms. So we have 1x squared and a 6x squared, that's 7x squared. And then what about our x's? We have a negative 6x and a negative 6x and a positive 4x. Well, I know that negative 6x and negative 6x is negative 12x plus 4x is what? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Negative 8x. And then our constant is 9 and negative 4. So 9 minus 4 is 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 5. So final answer is 7x squared minus 8x plus 5, which is, if we have it. There we go. The last choice. Good. Let's see here. So always check if you can no, we can't factor to GCF. You're just gonna have to FOIL it out and just collect like terms and be very cautious. So let's start on the very left. So what's x squared times 1? X squared. What's x squared times negative 2x? Negative 2x cubed, right? And then what, do this one? What's negative 5x times 2x? So you're multiplying the constant and the letter. Negative 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. And then x times x is x squared. What's negative 5x times negative 3x? That's positive 15x to the third, right? And then these are not near the parentheses, so just bring it down and just collect like terms. So let's start with the highest power. So my highest power is 15x cubed and then negative 15x cubed. And then you also have a negative 2x cubed, right? So what's 15 minus 5? 10. 15 minus 5 is 10 x cubed. And then negative 2 is 9, 8. 8x cubed. What about my x squares? Oh, I'm going to box it. So I have a negative 10x squared, a 1x squared, and a positive 2x squared. Put it all together. 1 and negative 10 is negative 9 plus 2. That's negative 7x squared. That's it. So it looks like the second choice. Okay, this one. Um, so can we factor out a GCF? So this is one term, and then this is one term, right? Mm, dang it, no. But if you look at all the choices, yeah, look at all the choices. What could we do? Should we just FOIL it out and then go from there? Or is there another way? Is there like a shorter way? Um, I know I can't factor out GCF, right? You have an X. Yeah, we can't factor out a GCF because this is one term and then this is another, right? So it looks like we can. I, there's no, can't believe this is, yeah, this one is. Let's just FOIL it out, collect like terms, and see what we get. So AX times X is AX squared. AX times A is A squared X. Negative B times X is negative XB. Negative B times A is negative AB. And then over here, be careful. So what I would do is first FOIL this out and then distribute this minus. So X times X is X squared. X times negative A is negative AX. Negative B times X is negative BX. And then negative B times negative A is positive AB. Oh, and then we have to FOIL out this minus. It's minus 1. So this would be negative X squared, positive AX, positive BX, minus AB. And then bring this down. And what do you get? Let's see if we can just test this. Let's look at the first choice. If we FOIL this out, you would get AX squared minus X squared. AX squared minus X. Okay, that's what we have here. And then if you FOIL out this X, this would be A squared X plus AX. A squared X, AX. Good. And then you have this negative 2AB. You have one here, one here. That's definitely negative 2AB. And then this BX and the negative 1. Oh, this cancels. BX. Negative XB is the same thing as BX. Negative BX, right? And a positive BX, that becomes 0. Oh, that is our answer. Because when you simplify it, it gives you this. Well, that's a difficult one. So, yeah, I believe it's that one. Is this correct? Yes, it is. Okay. So yeah, on this one, I just had to FOIL it out, collect like terms, and then I had to just test one and see if we get the same results, which we did. Question 6. Simplify. So look, can we first check if we can factor GCF? This is one term. This is another. There's nothing they have in common, so we can't. So we just have to FOIL it out and collect like terms. And if you look at in all our choices, they're in standard form. So we got to just FOIL out and be very careful. So let's start with 3x times 2x. That is 6x squared. 3x times 5 is 15x. Negative 1 times 2x is negative 2x. Negative 1 times 5 is negative 5. Okay, now let's do this part here. So x times x is x squared. X times negative 3 is negative 3x. 2 times x is positive 2x. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. And then it's all about collecting like terms. So we have a 6x and a 1x square. That is 7x squared. And then x's, you can box it or circle it. So 15x, negative 2x, negative 3x, and a positive 2x. That is going to be 15 minus 2 is 15, 14, 13. 15 minus 2 is 14. Wait, no, 15 minus 2 is 13, my bad. And then subtracted by 3, and then add 2. You should get 12x. And then our constant is negative 5 and negative 6, which is negative 11. So it looks like the first one, 7x squared plus 12x minus 11. Okay, okay, 7. Mm, yeah, we're just gonna have to FOIL this out and collect like terms just like the other ones. There's no other way out. So let's start here. What's x times x squared? That is x cubed. What's x times x? That is x squared. What's x times negative 3? That's negative 3x. What's negative 2 times x squared? That is negative 2x squared. What's negative 2 times x is negative 2x. What's negative 2 times negative 3 is positive 6. And then do the negative 2. So negative 2x, negative 2 times x is negative 2x squared. Negative 2 times negative 4x is positive 8x. Negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. Collect like terms. So start with x cubed and then x squared. We have 1x squared, negative 2x squared, negative 2x squared. 1 minus 2 is negative 1. Negative 2 is negative 3. Or- And then you have a negative 3x and a negative 2x and a positive 8x. Negative 3 and negative 2 is negative 5. Wait, negative 3 and negative 2 is negative 5 plus 8. Negative 5 plus 8 is 6, 7, 8 plus 3x. And then our constant is 6 and negative 2, which is 4. What's my answer? X cubed minus 3x squared plus 3x plus 4. Oh, the first one. So you can definitely do this on the exam. This one was doable. You just have to practice and be, yeah. Okay, question 8. Oh man, this one, be careful with this one. So you see this bracket here? I'm going to do that one first. And yeah, so what I'm going to do is FOIL this minus 1. So that'd be negative x and a positive 4. Then bring down this 2x bracket. And then before I distribute this negative 3, it looks like you can collect like terms 2x and negative 1x is 2x and a negative x is positive x plus 4, right? And then you may FOIL out this negative 3, so this is going to be negative 3x, and then negative 3 times 4 is negative 12. Okay. And then bring down this 5x, and then it's plus. Then you have to do this whole thing. Now, you can FOIL this out one by one, but you're still going to get x squared minus 4. And how do I know? This one is a perfect square. So if you kind of know your factoring rules, perfect square, this is very similar to a squared minus b squared, which equals a plus b times a minus b, right? So if you look at this rule, this looks like this. So we got to make it look like the left, and we got to figure out our a. My a looks like it's x, and my b looks like it's 2. So it's a squared minus b squared, so it's x squared minus 2 squared, which is 4. But if you don't know the rule, you're more than welcome just to FOIL it out, collect like terms, and you'll get the same answer. Okay, now it's all about collecting like terms. So start with the highest power, x squared, and then go down. So we have a 5x and a negative 3x, which is 2x, 5 minus 3, 2, and then we have negative 12 and a negative 4. That's negative 16. Yep, that one. Correct. Correct. Okay, good. How much? Let's see here. Yeah, this one, just FOIL it out, collect like terms. Let's do this one real quick, kind of quick, because we got it. We do have to have a time limit on the real exam. So negative 2 times 1 is negative 2x. Negative 2x times negative 3x is positive 6x squared, because remember, multiplying the variables as well. Negative 2x times positive 2x squared is going to be negative 4x cubed. Now let's do this part. Just FOIL it out and collect like terms. So start here. X times 2x squared is 2x cubed. X times x is x squared. X times negative 4 is negative 4x. And then FOIL out this negative 1. So negative 1 times 2x squared is negative 2x squared. Negative 1 times x is negative x. Negative 1 times negative 4 is positive 4. And then it's all about collecting like terms. So go with the highest power. So we have a negative 4x cubed and a positive 2x cubed. Negative 4 and positive 2 is negative 2x cubed. And then we have a 6x squared and a 1x squared and a negative 2x squared. So what is that going to be? 6 plus 1 is 7. 7 minus 2 is 5x squared. Then our x's, regular x's, so we have a negative 2x and a negative 4, so that's negative 6. And then you have a negative 1, so that's negative 7x. And then the constant is 4. So the first one, negative 2x cubed plus 5x squared minus 7x plus 4. Yes, it is. Okay, so this one, it's okay. You're probably stressing out. There's you have a letter raised to a letter. That's weird, but it's okay. So what you need to know is if you have the same letter, for example, this is this is a very equivalent to saying like 5x cubed minus 3x cubed, right? As long as they have the same base and the same exponent, you can combine them. So 5x cubed minus 3x cubed is 2x cubed, right? So that's the same rule with this. As long as they're the same base and the same exponent, you can combine them. So the good news is you don't really have to do over here you don't really have to do like foiling. You just have to collect like terms. So there's a plus minus. So really you don't need that. This is really negative 5ax, right? You don't need this extra plus. And then this is negative 2xa. Then it's all about collecting like terms. So you have a 3xa and a 6ax minus xa. So put it all together. Let's start with the xa's. X raised to the a. X raised to the oh, I see one here and I see one here. So they're the same. They're the same base and the same power, so you can combine them. So 3 minus 1 is 2 xa. And then what about a raised to the x? So you have a 6ax and a negative 5ax, which is positive 1ax. And then what about the x raised to the a? You, you have a negative. Oh, I didn't see there's an extra here. So 3xa minus xa minus 2 is not that anymore. 3 minus 1 is 2. And then you have a negative 2. So that cancels completely, right? So are you really left with 1ax? Yes. It looks like you're left with 1ax, or really ax, right? Correct. Okay. So on this video, we learned how to factor out a GCF, and then we kind of went backwards where we had to like FOIL it out to put it in standard form. Okay, so we're going to stop here.